Hey, hello. It's a magnificent, marvelous Monday. And here I am with my amour, and thank you for joining us. And it's good to have your company on this lovely evening, except it's been raining. It has been peeing down for quite some time, at a time when I wanted to clear out the garage. And there we are. And then this afternoon, I was trying to clear out the old garage. And what happened when I was trying to clear out the garage? I'll tell you what happened. What happened? The door between the garage and the house was open. We piled lots of boxes in front of it because we were going to go back in through the front door, doing a bit of a reorganisation. And then the front door was locked with the key. We had the key with us, so that was no problem. But the other key was on the inside of the front door, turned. So I had to practice my mountain climbing skills and crowd surfing skills and wishing myself on the other side of a big pile of stuff, and we just about made it.
I did offer.
You did, but you know, I've got the climbing boots.
And I'm a former gymnastic, so.
Well, you can't have a former gymnastic, so.
Gymnast.
Gymnast, that's the one. Gymnast, not to be confused with elastic.
Nope.
Gymnastic, elastic, but gymnast and da da da.
Yeah, anyway. You know what it's like. Yep,
Yeah.
there was torrential rain.
Yes. Oh, and a very warm welcome and hello to Tony Wilson, who joins us this evening, the leading light behind Total Rocks. Good to have you with us, sir, and many congratulations to you on 20 fabulous years of a wonderful radio station there. It's doing a great job, and I'm privileged to have been a part of it when it all started back in the day.
Welcome to the jungle.
Indeed. So we're going to talk about a few things tonight, as we do, randomly. And there's a solar orbiter, which is Europe's Sun mission, which is making some fly past of the old Sun. And hello to another Tony Fisher. Good to have you with us. Oh la 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 la! We've done that thing with our sound again. Good Lord above. So rewinding and back to the beginning. Hello to Rocker Kev. A very warm welcome to Mr. Tony Wilson, the leading light and a legendary guy behind Total Rock. Very good to have you with us tonight, and I'm very proud to have played a small part in the start of that radio station back in the day. Tony Fisher's joined us as well, and Pettis Maria, hopefully you can now hear us loud and clear. There seems to be a sort of delay between me switching the sound on and people being able to hear us. So here we are, and we kick off tonight in our little humble abode with our TARDIS world with my dad's hat on it and doggy cushion. And I'm glad that people can hear us now. Hello, David, as well. It's great to have you with us this evening. So Europe have got their act together and launched a thing called the Solar Orbiter, which is going to be just 77 million kilometres away from the sun, which I should think is pretty damn hot. Not quite as hot, obviously, as summer in the Sahara, but it's called a perihelion, the orbit that it's going to come into, and it will be between the orbits of Venus and Mercury, so pretty damn hot. Only 5 missions so far in the history of space have gone deeper into the inner solar system, and one of them, let me tell you, was not SpaceX. I think on the puppet show Thunderbirds, which I grew up with, the wonderful Jerry Anderson series, I think there was a probe going towards the sun in those days with these puppets mopping their brows in a sort of jerky way. But in real life, it's a terrific thing, and we really look forward to finding out a bit about our closest star. There was a mystery, wasn't there, over the weekend, because Winston Churchill disappeared from Google, and when you would search him, he was just coming out in kind of silhouette, and obviously nobody was expecting anybody to deface his Google image as they did with the old statue in central London over the weekend, and Google said that. And I believe them. They said that there was an error when they tried to change the photo. Yeah. I mean, after 25 years of being a search engine, these things happen, don't they?
Hey, they're only human.
Enough said. Enough said. Yeah, I mean, say no more. Say no more. Say no more. Now, the borders, because we have this in Europe, we have this Schengen thing, don't we, where we have open borders for everybody to sort of come and go and meander about and have a good old time, except, of course, in Fortress UK, where we've always been a bit odd and still will be. And then coronavirus comes around and suddenly this spirit of openness, cooperation and wholehearted love all around kind of falters a little bit, and everybody shuts their borders and says, you keep your virus, mate, and don't come over here, which is ever so slightly antisocial. But now they're opening them up all again, now that things are lifting and the sun is on the horizon and so forth. I think now, do you think? I think I should make another video with my doctor friend, and if you can think of a topic, do let me know. We've got a few in mind, but for anybody who saw that at the outbreak of the pandemic and all that kind of thing, it would be good, I think, to do another one. He doesn't know yet, and we haven't thought of we have thought of a couple of topics, but
Yeah.
we're not quite sure exactly which one. So. Did we talk about? I don't think we did, because we haven't been on for a couple of days, for which we apologise. But busy. Plus, I've been locked in the garage without food and water for about a week, so that influences it somewhat. But anyway, I'm sure you'd remember if I spoke about Professor Shattuck, and so you have to be careful how you pronounce that, but he's the lead scientist on a project at Imperial College in London, where what they're trying to do is to have a low-cost coronavirus vaccine, which has got to be a pretty damn good thing to have. And I was talking to my friend Steve earlier today about there are different. They announced today that there was another kind of this virus which has got even more hooks on the outside, ready to clamp onto things and get into the old cells. That's not good. And if you make a virus that just targets the hooks, another one comes up with different configuration of hooks, and it bounces that thing off, and you're buggered, even if you've made 30 million copies of them. It's good to have these things that target other bits of this virus. In particular, the little bit of RNA in the middle. If you can mess that one up, then it can't bond with anything in your cell. So I'm pretty much in favour of that. And that's the one that the team at Imperial are working on at the moment. The one in Oxford, by the way, when they tested it on rhesus monkeys, every single monkey got coronavirus. And you don't hear much about that in the news, do you? So watch this space and we'll see what happens.
I wonder if we had it by chance, because
Yeah.
we were
We've
slightly
been
poorly.
thinking about that, you see, and it emerges now that 1,350 people came into the UK carrying different strains of this virus when we had our open door
Make
policy.
your
Hello.
selection. Dig your own.
And we were quite ill at the end of January. And I'm the virus pot that brings them all home. But you're quite robust normally.
Yeah, hardly ever get the flu or things like that. Yeah, I'm normally pretty good. I get laryngitis, but that's about it. Every now and again, like
So
2
we
years.
were moseying about at the end of January doing our thing, and we had to go into a Starbucks or somewhere. And I had to sit down.
Yes.
I just lost all power. Ooh.
Yes, we went for a long walk,
like
yeah.
a robot where you pull out the plug at the back of his neck. And wasn't a particularly long walk we were going, because we like going for walks. It was quarter of an hour or something, and just all the power went out. So we had to get a cab to take me home. Even though it was only 10 minutes away, I couldn't move a muscle.
Yeah, but the thing is that I didn't have my mobile phone with me.
You didn't?
One of those things that it never leaves my hand, and one of those things that we just went out without it.
Yeah.
So we had to borrow a phone.
From the barista, we had to say, "Can I be have a coffee?" And I will borrow your mobile phone, please. No, I don't think I drank the coffee. But we had emergency taxi and that sort of thing. So this was, we're talking about the last week of January. And then Irma gets it, who is normally invulnerable to everything. And suddenly she's in bed. Well, can't move.
For about 2
So,
days.
so for about 2 days. So this could have been fever and all that sort of stuff. Could have been a very early instance of coronavirus. It would be before the first documented case here in the UK. But what flagged it up for me is and Pettis Maria says, I remember Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds were great, actually. FAB is the only way to describe it. So this is quite interesting, really. My doctor friend has tested positive now for COVID. He's had it. And a good friend of mine, his dad, who doesn't live in England, but and he doesn't live in Italy either, or Spain, or any of the hotspots. He tested positive for it. He had it at the end of January in a country where I think officially they didn't have any cases until April. So this is a silent thing that sort of floats around, really. And maybe I think we'll have to have a test, won't we? To see if we had it, and then if we did, you see, there was another announcement today that the immunity lasts at least 2 months, so that would have meant we'd been immune until about the start of lockdown. So it's no biggie really, but what it would mean, which would be quite good for us, is that getting this, we didn't get the cytokine storm or everything and then end up on ventilators. We were just crap ill in bed for a bit, and then like that, which is probably quite a good sign. And my friend's dad, who had it, he did have some comorbidities. He was overweight, he had some heart issues, he was over 70, and this kind of thing, and he was fine, he recovered. And his wife, who was with him the whole time in their home, didn't have any antibodies, so she didn't catch it. So there are these people, there are a lot of people, and there was I was reading this article as well by this statistician who is using modelling now that's normally used for all kinds of other things to model this virus, and he talks about the sort of dark matter equivalent of coronavirus, where a lot of it's just sort of bubbling around and people don't know they've had it, or people have just a little sore throat and this kind of thing. So it's all quite interesting. I think. Hello, Wendy. Welcome to our little soiree. And Kevin says he'd like to ask Dr. Mike about antibodies, cell transfusion and vaccines, and thoughts on stopping a second outbreak of COVID. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think we'll have to because second wave is something I think that nobody wants to see, because first wave was a bit of a bugger, and I don't think we would want to see a recurrence of it. And then today, my friend Jamie posted that all the shops are open. He goes, well, hey, I'm staying at home. How about you? So we did as well. Emma had to, lock me in the garage to stop me going to Primark and queuing outside. But apparently,
is it open?
All these kind of non-essential shops, are open now. And there were mile-long queues outside shops. People were waiting for 2 hours outside the likes of Sports Direct, Primark and John Lewis's. And the prized purchases were egg cups and towels.
Really?
And what's the connection between that and toilet paper? You tell me. The mind boggles. What on earth is going through people's minds? Egg cups and towels.
Probably when.
Well, because they've got enough loo paper now, but what on earth they're doing with those three things combined, the mind absolutely boggles. I'm totally...
You boil the eggs and not worth it.
So yes, hi Wendy. It's very good to have you with us. Wendy says, do you think the first wave is over? I think here it's kind of fizzled out, because Kevin and I have got this spreadsheet database thing with graphs and everything that we co-wrote, because I wrote some of the numbers and he wrote some of the graphs and everything. It's very pretty now. And it does, and what it does, unlike the official sort of government things or websites you can go on, and because we don't publish this, we can do it, is it predicts the future. If we were predicting the future and we were publishing it, then people would say, you said it was going to be over, and then we'd have letters from their solicitors and get into all sorts of trouble and have our bottoms smacked and things. But as it's only for sort of private consumption, we've got this wonderful tool. And with the figures in over the last couple of days, it does show it fizzling out at the beginning of July. So not going to zero, but going way down. The 7-day average that people are using to track this has gone down again. This week it's about 165 now, something like that. Last week it was 200. The week before that it was 300. That's the daily average of people dying, because it bumps up and down day to day. So it is plateauing a bit. It's not going down quite as fast as we would like, but it is definitely in the decline. Now,
so is that any good news then?
We have this rather bizarre thing in England, don't we, about the shop opening hours on Sundays. And if you're a tiny little shop the size of my table here, you can open all the time. And if you're a great big supermarket, you have to open, I think it's for 6 hours, is it? And some of them get round that a bit by opening half an hour early for you to browse. So you can load that shopping trolley to the brim and then go through the checkouts, at 1 minute past 10, that sort of thing. But the government are talking about relaxing the Sunday trading laws, which may well then go on to be a permanent thing as people find out it wasn't so bad after all, and nobody gets struck dead with thunderbolts or any such. So that might happen, and it's possible that VAT might be reduced a bit as well, as has happened in Germany, which just to lubricate the world's wheels and sort of ease things along. So if you had 10% off something, would you go out shopping now? Jostling elbows with all the old crowds, would that be enough to get you out there? Well, funnily enough, you are not alone, because 2/3 of people are too worried still to enter shops. I'm one of them. And 1 in 5 believe they won't do so ever again. I'm probably one of them as well. When we go into those supermarkets, Tesco and Sainsbury's and all that, I'm crap scared. I'm looking around because you can see those viruses buzzing out and you have to dump. There goes one. And yeah. But I am. The old heart is really thumping. I might make light of it. You've seen that.
Oh, yes.
You've seen that. I'm really on sort of high alert. It's like sort of,
We went grocery shopping a couple of weeks ago last time, and that was it.
It's like
no more.
It's like going through the jungle with the enemy snipers kind of taking aim at you from the treetops. Bang, 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 bang. So and yet they're invisible ones, you see, and you don't know you've been shot until about 5 days later. A bit like a dinosaur when you trill on their tail.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever done that.
So we click and collect.
Yeah, we do. So the old dinosaurs, their nervous systems were so kind of primitive, and the things had to travel such a long way that if you trod on his tail, this dinosaur, he wouldn't know for about 5 minutes. I kid you not.
Okay.
I kid you not. Last time I trod on a dinosaur's tail, he didn't know about it for about 20 million years.
I know. Well, you're not that old, are you?
No comment. Now, we're going to talk about some serious stuff tonight as well, in addition to our usual frivolity, aren't we? And we thought we'd talk about
friendship and social interaction.
Yeah, that. So, how's it been for you over this last 12 weeks? It hasn't been the usual sort of friendship thing of, popping around the neighbours for a cuppa and all that, has it?
No, it has been. I am, I'm a bit of mix of both in terms of personality, but in terms of friendship, yes, I am a regular friend, but I'm a big guy in making lots of friends. But then, true friendship, what is it, and how do you socially interact to really engage? And what makes a good listener and a conversationalist. So, give us your insight, David. You had some research done.
Yeah, about friends. Well, I'm gonna go and talk to that old Greek guy, and here he is, our old friend Aristotle, and he said that there were 3 types of friendship. There are those based on utility, so it's quite useful to be friends with Harry over there because he lends me his lawnmower. That's one. And then sometimes I lend him my oil can to fix the lawnmower, and there's that sort of thing, which is not a deep lasting thing, because the day his lawnmower breaks or I run out of oil, that's done. That one's done and dusted. I don't know. Did they have lawnmowers in the times of Aristotle?
Mm-mm.
Probably not. Probably servants who went around there with scissors or something. And this is kind of, it's a sort of mutual usefulness, if you like, and these are the most common types of friendships, but these are, I don't know, what I used to call fair weather friends. They're the people who are what should we say, kind of, they're there day to day, but they're not necessarily there for you when you need them. They're there for you when you need them on a day-to-day basis, but they're not there when the chips are down, and when it counts. Because I think, my thing is that, it's when you're in trouble that you find out who your kind of true friends are. And the neighbour who comes round every now and again to lend you his lawnmower is not too much like that. And I'm just reminded a bit of Homer Simpson and Ned Flanders. I don't know if you're familiar with that series, but kind of Homer is always like borrowing things from Ned. And then Ned says, "Hey, you know that lawnmower I lent you 20 years ago?" And Homer goes, "What? Well, what about it?" You know, so you know, so it's a kind of limited type of friendship, and one that doesn't perhaps you know, last very long. Bit on the shallow side, some would say. So that's friendship type number one.
Yeah, I have a comment from May Sarton. It says, in about friendship. It says, she became for me an island of light, fun, wisdom, where I could run with my discoveries and torments and hopes at any time of day and find welcome. So, I think, like you said, there are different types of friendship, but you ought to engage whichever kind of friendship that you have. When it becomes to interacting with your friend of whatever kind, you have to really be fully engaged to really be part of that ecosystem that you are building with different kinds of friendship. So what is the second kind of friendship?
So, well, I haven't quite finished number one. Number one, the utility friendship tends to be the case. It tends to be more common in older people when they can share, I don't know, Zimmer frames or walking sticks. Or, you've seen my walking stick? Here, have my Zimmer frame. Yeah, which surprises me.
I disagree on that one because I have a friend, and she's a lovely, lovely person, always willing to help anyone. And I remember I had a bit of an issue in which I had to be rushed into A&E. And my children being still underage and didn't have a clue, basically. So I rang her and she came. And by this time my son had already spoken to things. So she was there with me all night. Yeah, so...
Pause in the proceedings slightly, so we'll come back to that. So that's number one, friendship-wise. But then, first of all, Wendy said, do you think the first wave is over of this pandemic?
Over here, I think you read that before. You said that it might be over, that it's fizzling out.
It's in my mind, isn't it? So obviously something's going around in my mind. I'm not sure. I mean, I was talking about the graph. I'm not sure whether I specifically addressed Wendy's question. Sorry if I'm addressing it twice. But I think it varies in different places because it started at different times in different countries. So I think it's going to end at different times. And it may well be the case that the people who were locked down earlier will end earlier. And the people who stayed locked down.
I think it's an opportunistic kind of virus, going back to Wendy's question. In terms of, like we say, we might have had it. We don't know. We need to get that test done on us. But if we did... we were very ill, very poorly, but not to the extent of having to go to hospital or even have it checked.
Yeah.
So...
It's quite possible because then just before lockdown, about a week before lockdown, a good friend of mine, Steve, he and I met up, and he had just been ill for a couple of weeks actually, and he goes, "Don't worry, it's not coronavirus," and but you know, again, he was suffering similar symptoms, and me being Mr. Sick, who always catches everything, didn't catch anything. You see, we were sitting right next to each other, just kind of like that. And I was thinking, oh my God, I hope it's not. But so you know, who knows? But I think we probably should try and get. There's a testing centre not far from here that we pass sometimes. So I think we should pop in and see if they'll do an MOT. And at the same time, maybe they do corona tests.
Yeah. My thinking is that it's an opportunistic kind of thing that if you happen to catch it at the time in which your defenses are low, that's when it comes with a vengeance in any kind of comorbidity that you have.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it's fizzling out,
Yes.
I think, here, according to your graphs, yours and Kevin's hard work.
Well,
information.
It's totally all down to us, yeah, absolutely. Kevin says that zoos reopened today, so he and Dorney went to the Howletts Animal Park near Canterbury. I knew you were going to a zoo. I didn't know which day it was. I thought maybe it was over the weekend, so I'm delighted to hear about that. Kevin says it was a great day out and all the zoos need a lot of support at the moment because the animals still had to be fed during lockdown and there was no income coming in from visitors. So it's wonderful that the government finally pulled their finger out and allowed that to happen because it's not the animals' fault that they're not wandering around in their sort of habitat. I mean, with Homo sapiens on the loose in the world, it's probably safer to be in the bloody zoo for now because there are hunters everywhere, trophy hunters and all that kind of thing. But you know, it's still not ideal. But if they are in the zoo, it's not just a sort of entertainment. These are lives that we should cherish and take care of, particularly since many of them come from far-flung places, and particularly since in many cases the animals in captivity are the last of their kind.
Yeah, that's right. So it is very important that now we as a race and as a unit that went through or been through this kind of pandemic, now we get together and help as much as we can in terms of not precisely buying stuff for us. I mean, we were fine without for weeks.
Yeah.
So now, like Kevin said, just support the people that needs. In this case, the zoos, the zookeepers, and theatre as well, arts. Because all these kind of things they're good to have. Why? Because our new generations enjoy to knowing how they are raised, what they eat, to see them, and not just pictures. Because it'll be so sad that all we had was pictures of some kind of animals roaming on Earth.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, Jurassic Park was a movie. Just to be clear, so we can't at the moment bring back the extinct ones.
No, we don't want to
Even
either.
if we
They're too
have
big.
Well, the duck-billed platypus, not necessarily. And I don't think Kevin told me that's still alive. What's the one? The dodo. That's the one. I mean, I don't think that you'd be too scared if a dodo waddled across the floor. But you know, I could be wrong. Spiders. We might be afraid of spiders because of some kind of genetic race memory. That's something we were reading the other day as well. That it might be that a spider ate your ancestor or something. Or you know. People who have irrational fears might have inherited those through the DNA.
Arachnophobia. Oh yes, you were mentioning that yesterday. Yes,
Yeah.
we seem to have inherited fears.
But I'm not afraid of dodos or platypuses, or is it platypi? Anyways, coming back to this long shaggy dog story, well, you know, we'll have a few. Now that coronavirus is getting a bit boring, we're going to open up the topics a bit. But interspersed with the old banter that we do, we'll sort of drag it out for about half an hour. And so we talk about Aristotle's things about friendship.
Yeah.
I'm just going to finish number one. I'm not going to
Okay.
go on to number two yet, and then we'll get you to read a bit of that.
Okay.
So the final thing about number one, the utility friendship, the mutual back scratching friendship, just there, is that. Often it's a sort of business or work type thing where, you know, you see your business or work colleagues, but it doesn't really go beyond that. And a very good example of that is my former solicitor, who was a terrific solicitor, wonderful at what she did. Oh, and hello, Annie. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's good to have you with us. My former solicitor, Rita, was fantastic, an absolute stalwart of the profession, always kind of sorted out all my bits and pieces for me. And on the Friday, after, because then I found out that she'd left, you see, what happened is on her last Friday, she worked up until 5:15 or 5 o'clock or whatever, packed up her things, put everything in her briefcase, walked out the office, and the colleagues never ever saw her again. She disappeared off, she's not on Facebook, she's not on Google, so disappeared, slipped through a time portal into the land of the Daleks or whatever, but never to be seen again. And was presumably very happy and was very good at what she did, but you know, it was her day job, and then she packed her bags and went.
Oh.
But we've got a good solicitor again now, so it's okay. Merlin, his name is. How about that? He's got strange powers. He's very good.
He's a very nice,
good actually.
yeah,
Very nice fellow.
Very good on, yeah. I'm just
So,
looking for you, David.
Friendship thing number 2.
Okay, go on.
You're looking for what? Me, there
To
I am.
share you.
Oh. No, you can't do that. I'm yours and yours alone.
Okay, friendship number 3, yeah.
So, another thing about friendship, then you can share me.
Right. Right. So basically, it's we go through lives and we make different friends at different stages of our lives, and obviously we share commonalities in terms of if we're primary school, you share all the stuff that goes along with the age, and so on and so forth. But the strongest friendship, I think, are the ones that you build in university, from preparatory school to university, and why? Because you kind of share common grounds in terms of terms. So we sometimes apply a negative thinking and we tend to focus on what is missing. Sometimes we miss, oh, I wish I had that friend from secondary school, but really, we don't. So here it says, let's take today and let ourselves remember the friends who have been there for us. In this case, there was a little old lady with a beautiful flower garden who would not let my parents smack me, and I tried to pick them flowers and inadvertently pulled them up by the roots. She was only admiring their beauty, she said. So, what are one of your special friends from younger years?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any good memories in terms of this?
Special friends from young girls. I've got my friend David. He listens to the Rock Show every night.
That's right. Yes.
And we used to have some great fun because we had a sort of contra deal, and that he would help me with my rock music, and I used to help him a bit with his maths. And I shouldn't be saying that really, because then he went on to become a maths teacher. That was cool. That was very nice, actually. And he's a very, very nice fella. We went to visit him and his wife just before lockdown, didn't we?
Yes, we met him last year, and you know what amazed me, David, is that you look so much the same.
It's the beard.
I show the photo to my children, and they says,
Which one's which?
Yes, actually, that was the question.
Wow. And we're both called David, and we both used to sit in the same row at school. He was about 3 rows ahead of me. Column. We used to sit in the same column. He was 3 rows ahead of me.
So what is the second type of friendship, David?
Second type of friendship is it's another accidental one. It's based on pleasure, and that's the one that the young people have. It's a sort of hedonistic thing. College, as you were saying, it's college friends or people in the same sports team or that kind of thing where you're going and having fun. But as soon as your interest changes from cricket to croquet, it's all done and dusted as you kind of go your separate ways. And when one or other of your tastes or preferences change, that's that. And very often, with young people, their circle of friends, as they move from school to uni or something, they don't take many friends with them. And even going through school or going through uni, they'll move from one group of friends to another, and that's how it is.
But I think that the most wonderful thing about friendship is that they have left a memory in our lives, and somehow have also have an influence on us, not directly but indirectly in the way we portray to the world and in adulthood. So for every single friend that crossed your life and your path, and in this case for me, they left a lovely memory that I can grasp and really treasure, because those memories will never come back again. So I have to really treasure this wonderful memory of my wonderful friend that at different stages of my life touched my soul, basically.
That's lovely. Whereas I was a little sod, and I built myself an electric shock machine. So all the tough boys, and it was just a little battery and a little electric bell that would go backwards and forwards to make sparks. And then there's a transformer that used to turn the sort of 9 volts from the battery until probably sort of 900 or 9,000 volts or something quite enormous. And I used to carry this around in a biscuit tin. See, like today, if you took that into school, they'd call the riot police and you'd be in prison, wouldn't you? But we all thought it was a great bit of fun. And I'd say, hold those, and they'd go, ho, 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 ah! And so I had wonderful fun doing that.
You know, that reminds me of there's a marketplace in Mexico City, in which I went a long time ago, and they had this man with a little box and 2 things that. But you will have to pay him to have that experience.
No, I did it for free for my friends, and how about that? And we got a little transformer. Do you remember we carried a little heavy thing out of the car the other day? It was one of those. You can wire that up, and we'll invite our friends round after lockdown for a little electric shock party.
Oh, no. So what's the third type, David?
The third type of friendship, these are the sort of deeper friendships. They're the sort of meaningful ones, and Aristotle called them the friendship of the good. And that's the kind of thing we've got, for example. So it's based on a mutual appreciation of the virtues that the other party holds dear. It's the people themselves and the qualities that they represent that provides the incentive for the 2 parties to be in each other's lives. How about that?
Oh, that's wonderful.
So there you are, the 2 shallow ones, based on kind of borrowing the lawnmower or having fun party, or the deep one where you really kind of look below the surface and see the person inside. So there you go. He's a clever fellow, was Aristotle.
Yeah.
He was, of course, as everybody knows, though, a bit of a bugger for the bottle.
Really?
According to Monty Python songs. Did you not see the Philosopher's Stone? Do you remember that one? I showed it to you
Yeah,
on
but
YouTube.
that's not based on reality, is it?
Aristotle was a bugger for the bottle. No, of course it wasn't based on reality. It was a
What song
fun
is that?
sketch from a comedy show. It's the Philosopher's Song from Monty Python. You can look it up on YouTube. Other video streaming platforms are available. I hear Vimeo is quite good.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, that's a conversation stopper, isn't it?
I know. Wow.
Well, anyway, research some of that while I pump some more hot air, and then we'll come back to you in just. We'll be back after this break. Secondary schools. 2 million children have done bugger all in lockdown, reveals study as secondary pupils with GCSE and A-levels next year return for 1-hour meetings with teachers today. What have you done, little Jimmy? Well, nothing. What are you going to do about it? Well, nothing. I'm not allowed to enjoy your summer holidays, little Jimmy.
Look, listen. Yes. Look, poor children stuck at home, scared. You don't know what's going on through their heads.
Yeah.
They are listening to the parents, the coronavirus, this coronavirus, that virus here, wash your hands, do whatever, this and the other. So they have plenty to cope. You cannot expect them just to have I think they should all go with A's.
Absolutely.
A plus.
Our good friend Colin has just joined us. Hello, hope you and Claudia are well. We've gone completely loopy by week 12, let me tell you. Whoa. We're not the people that you knew at all, let me tell you. Absolutely, for sure. But anyway, yes, lazy ass children have barely done any work at all.
Good on them.
And because this was printed up in one of the red tops, it's a shocking survey. You see, otherwise it would just be a normal bit of information. But even more shocking, for me, there are a lot of places where you buy your bits and pieces for your DIY around the house, and you have to remember during lockdown not to chop your bloody fingers off, because you'll die of virus if you go into hospital to have it bandaged up. So anyways, places to go and get your DIY stuff include Homebase, B&Q, who I think were one of the first to open up with some very sensible precautions. And then there's the more trade-oriented ones, Travis Perkins and Ridgeons here in East Anglia and blah, 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 blah. And then there's Wickes. Now, that's got no connection at all with anything in the world, apart from there's a fella called Joe Wicks. No connection, and actually his name is spelled differently. He is that hunky guy who was doing the morning exercises to get everybody. And I know he's thrown in the towel. He's probably broken a few limbs or something, and he's all bandaged up now like that. And there was a Lauren Hardy sketch where the guy brings him grapes or something, and the fat one's in bed, and the thin one brings the grapes and then eats them himself. But so Joe Wicks is stopping the daily PE lessons. I mean, it's had quite a lot of publicity, and he's going to crank it down to just after 13 weeks. And 70 million views, which is about what we got. Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's roughly ballpark what we got over these 13 weeks, and we have been out here banging it away every single day and doing the old we have. So he's going to massively downscale from daily ones to 3 workouts a week, because. Now, I suppose basically the theory being that now that everybody's out and about, again, we're not going to have time to watch him all the time on our little tablets and devices and things. Although people take their tablets and devices with them, don't they? Yeah. We've seen so many people out and about looking out through the window. It's like
yes, definitely.
It's like a normal summer's day with the Grim Reaper waiting just round the corner.
So, David, if you are to have, going back to the friendship side of things, so if you were to have a meal and then you invite people that you just recently met, and
people I've recently met.
Yeah. Say no coronavirus, nothing, and you have a private party at home. You cook some nice.
Yes.
So, how did you engage in terms of conversation to make it worthwhile for all?
Well, you say nice omelette for the time of year, isn't it?
No, in terms of the conversation. What kind of skills, apart from the usual, the normal, the obvious? So
you just have to have a few icebreakers, like, tell me about your first night in prison. I mean, they're just the normal things. Or if you were the dance band on the Titanic, which song would you play out with? I mean, you're just the odd
Yeah.
outsbreakers, or you know.
Yeah, that's the icebreaker. But then it comes to the conversation,
Then we
shallow
get
conversation,
yeah.
or what, or is it just
That's a good question. Well, then you have to do song titles.
ah?
Help! I need somebody help. Won't you please help me? And they go, what? Well, I just spilt soup over my pants. There you
That
go.
reminds me. Yes, I obviously a long time ago. We had a get together, and we were a nice little group, but we were all not known to each other. We were listening to this.
Strangers.
And someone started with something like that with songs, and then everybody started singing with chorus, and we needed some kind of cymbals and things like that, right there. And what we did is it took all the the pots up pans and
Mhm.
buckets and whatever, and started
Yeah.
making noise, and
Wow.
it was very good. So
Well,
yeah.
so you know, if we've just met, I lean across the party and I say, yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as if they're here to stay. I mean, that would be a great icebreaker, wouldn't it?
Oh my God! So you pick up line, you chat up line. You didn't. Okay.
Well, it works better than if I said you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? That was a song.
Shocking.
That was a song by
That's
the
not
Bellamy
a
Brothers.
song.
It so is. If I said you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? Anybody of a certain age will know that. I'll play it to you later.
Oh my God.
I know! And it was on Top of the Pops and all that as well. But and so were certain people who should have gone to prison. But anyway, yes, moving on swiftly before we get into trouble. Did you know that more than half your body is not human? And I mean you.
I know I come from Venus.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm from Mars.
There you go.
But there's
yes.
this is kind of you knew it. Okay, well I didn't know this. Only 43% of your body is you.
What happened to the other one?
What happened to the other one? What the 57% of non-Irma? Well, that is made up of little stuff, and they are bacteria, viruses. It doesn't matter how many times you shower. Fungi. Even I shower annually on my birthday. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea, which are organisms that originally we thought were bacteriae, but now they're not bacteria, but they're not. And the greatest concentration of this microscopic life, which coexists with us, and without which we couldn't live really, because it's a sort of symbiotic relationship, it's in the dark, murky depths of our oxygen-deprived bowels. There's a lot lurking in there.
Oh yeah, there's a gut.
Yeah, but not only. 43%, well, okay, in my case, 43% of me is down here, but you know, in most cases, it's only a small part of you, and these things kind of coexist with us,
And the brain.
Indeed, and here's a guy called Professor Rob Knight from the University of California, San Diego, and if he'd been English, he would be Professor Robert Knight, but he's over there, so he's Rob. Rob said, originally it was thought that our cells were outnumbered 10 to 1 by all these murky little things, but it's actually about 43%. David hit right here, and over here we've got 53% of splurg. And so our genetic blueprint makeup, which only differs by 1% with a fruit fly, I think I'm right in saying. Hello, Paul. It's very good to have you with us, our Colchester boy, and Michael as well. Thank you for joining us this evening for a slightly... We're cranking up the ante a bit now and talking a bit less about this bloody coronavirus and a bit more about kind of interesting stuff. And today's the day where we flip it all on its head because it's the end of week something. It's the end of week something, and so therefore... as one week ends, another week starts, as I always say. So, we've got 20,000 genes that make up our uniqueness, but there are about 20 million microbial genes, so a lot more of those, making up all this diverse flora and fauna that inhabit. Most of them are in my beard.
Even in your eyes, we have a little things growing in your...
We do little things.
Yeah. In
So you
eyelashes,
do.
no eyelashes.
Hello.
Yeah. But what about the sometimes you were talking about inheriting genes from past
Well, this is the thing as to whether we can, in some way, inherit memories. And certainly this has been demonstrated with worms and later with mice, that they can remember things from mum and dad and even further back. So they did this experiment with, I think, nematodes, which I think are little kind of worm-like things, and they had them glowing. They would glow when it gets warm. That's what they do. So they had these guys glowing all day long, and then the babies were put into a cold thing, and for 14 generations they continued to glow as if they were in the warm environment. So it was an inherited characteristic, instinct, if you like, that they had got from their ancestors. And mice exploring a maze. Again, mum and dad were allowed to wander around in this maze and really get a handle on it. And then the little sprogs were isolated from the maze for a bit until they were big enough. And I think mice probably develop quite quickly as soon as they pop out. And then they stuck them in the maze and boom, they found the nuts. Yeah, and then they navigated the maze. So super stuff.
So is it that, or could it be olfactory?
Who can say? I think. Well, the glowing worm certainly was.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there appear to be mechanisms. Whether it applies to higher level creatures like us, I think it probably does, and it might explain kind of neuroses, sort of mixed up folks who have reasonably good upbringings, but then sort of develop certain amounts of irrationality. So Arne, here's the thing. This is a good question. Kevin says, if our body cells are replaced, why do we age? It's those things called telomeres in the genetic blueprint of the things that cause the cells to divide, which get shorter and shorter and shorter, losing information. There is this fella called Aubrey de Grey, who was some bod here in Cambridge, and he went off to America along with and found himself several $100 million of investor money. And he takes the view that aging is a disease. And he characterized the 7 features of aging, and he said, well, if we can cure them, then we can live more or less forever.
That's interesting. It clashes with the Buddhist principle of reborn, which is more or less what we think. I mean, cells would die and they are getting reborn. So it's using the same kind of principle as Buddhist principle in terms of
I mean, our cells in our body are constantly dying and being reborn. It's just that after a while, more of them die than are reborn. And then it's game over. The end. Finale.
Well,
Kaput.
I hope they find the answer. It'd be awesome.
It would be good. It would be good. I mean, it's a difficult one because cell death also stops you getting cancers and stuff like this. Hello, Kevin. Kevin from Ipswich. It's very nice to have you with us this evening again, sir. It's a real pleasure. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the fact that Kevin, both Kevins, and I, and Irma, and everybody else tonight is only 43% you, and the rest are little microbes and other little critters which occupy the same space as we do, and help us to function. It's a very symbiotic thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we don't need to order that extra soap, even though lockdown's ended. Here's this professor from San Diego who says it would be naive to think that we carry about so much microbial gunk without it interacting or having any effect on our bodies at all. Science is uncovering the role that the microbiome plays in digestion, regulating the immune system, protecting against disease, manufacturing vital vitamins, etc. So it's good for them, it's good for us. We provide them with a home, and they pay their rent in various ways.
Fair enough. That's a good exchange of
absolutely
responsibilities.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And then occasionally we mess it up when we take antibiotics, and then they kill all the good bacteria in our gut, and then we have to replace them in various ways, and so on and so forth. Let us head off to the old podium, the podium of wisdom, frequented by these very fine, upright and honest men who stand in front of the nation and just impart nothing but wisdom to us, and the greatest amount of integrity out there, except that in the last month or so they've had half as many scientists as before. and they've given up saying it's driven by the science. Now they just say, because we tell you so. Do this because we say so. And there we are. Ollie from Newcastle on the Lyme asks,
When will the UK's alert level be at 1 or near to 1?
we're doing song titles this evening. I'm doing a Donny Osmond song title, which was the 12th of Never. Until the 12th, not until the 12th of Never. How does that sound? Yeah. We're way off that, man. So, sorry. Jude from Eastbourne says,
What provision will be put in place for the children of key workers over the summer holidays if the schools will not be open? Our normal plans will be school holiday clubs, grandparents who live out of town, as well as holidays abroad to break up the 7-week summer holiday, and none of these options are currently available.
I think we should, now that the zoos have a bit more money, build some more cages. Stick them in there. What do you think, little monsters?
David.
What? It's just a thought. I bet the guys from the podium were thinking that, but didn't dare say it.
What about after a school club?
Yeah, well, yeah, probably not. I mean, what would the guys from the podium have said? That said, "Thank you for raising this, young Jude. It's a wonderful issue that we will take on board as we make our plans for the future, moving forward in the fullness of time." Something like that. But one of those bullshit answers that says nothing. That kind of ting on that one. Well, there we are. Those were interesting. Those were interesting answers, worthy of
Thank you.
worthy of the comedian Dave Allen or Val Runican or some such. And with that, I'm afraid we probably come to the point where we're going to draw a big red line under it.
Mm-hmm.
But not before we've heard some more wisdom from.
Just to close the night, you know what I'm like. About anger. No good ever came of anger. Anger might seem to offer an energetic way of getting things done, but such a perception of the world is misguided. The only certainty about anger and hatred is that they are destructive. Let's all move along and try to do the best.
And as one of the American presidents was FDR said, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Thank you, and a very good night.
Good night.